Hello there. Hi. How you doing? How's it going? It's me again, Gigimurakami, horror manga artist and illustrator and creator of Resenter that was published in Viz Manga. And I'm back with another video. So this video is a little different. We're working on a few different things. This video was actually a panel that I was on last year at SPX, which is the Small Press Expo. The exact event that Resenter was nominated for an Ignatz Award. Oh my gosh. Nominations? Award nominations? What? Anyway, sorry. I have been invited back at SPX as a guest again. Well, not again. I wasn't a guest the first time. I just went. We had a cameo by Shinji. But I'll be at SPX this year as a guest. No, I was a guest last year. Was I a guest last year? I was invited. Somebody recommended you should come. So you should come. That's what it was. I was not a guest last year. I was invited to come through. This year, I am an official guest. I have a poster, a thing that says I am a guest. So I am a guest this year. And I guess to commemorate me being a guest this year at SPX, I wanted to show you guys a panel that I was on. I'll be on a few new panels this year. I don't know exactly which panels because we're still a few months out from SPX as I'm recording this. So I don't know which panels, but this should be up before the weekend of SPX. And then you'll be able to see me if you go in person. And I'll have more information around the time that this video is out. But yeah, please check out this video. Thank you so much for watching and for being here. I really appreciate it. Anyway, into the video, you guys. Bye. On my way to my panel. Hope it goes well. We'll see.
I'm assuming everyone here is a huge fan of horror and body horror. So you found the right place. I would like to introduce our panelists. I am your host for this occasion. My name is Peter Rostovsky. I teach in a few places. My day job is pedagogical in nature. I am a painter, and I also have a horror comic book graphic novel called Animation Diaries, and I'm a huge fan of the genre. This is maybe TMI. I was saying this is the only genre of consumption that my partner Mary and I can agree on. So we consume vast quantities of horror. And obviously horror, I think, is an incredibly relevant genre for our time. I would like to really dig into the reasons why that is, and has a very, very central place in comics, martial art, graphic narrative, and so on. And I would also like to dig down and find out what makes that such a unique and compelling pairing, and also talk to these illustrious, accomplished comics creators. And I have a list of, as I like to say, diabolical questions for you. Starting at the left flank there, Andy Santagata is a YA and adult horror comedy cartoonist and game designer. He's best known for his work on the Five Nights at Freddy's Fazbear Fright graphic novel series. I keep thinking of Fozzie Bear. His video game Slasher U, an 18-plus horror movie dating sim, and his autobiocomic Yennefer's Body, which won the 2023 Mocha Fest Award of Excellence. Corin Halbert is an Ignatz Award-nominated cartoonist and horror artist living and working in the NYC area. We should hang out. I'm in Brooklyn. Her art is heavily influenced by an avid obsession with 1970s cult films and vintage comics. She's the creator of the comic book series Acid Nun and Scorpio Venus Rising. Gigi Murakami is an NYC native, Ignatz-nominated manga artist, illustrator, writer, content creator, and small creative business owner at the intersection of horror media, alt, nerd, culture, collapsing those two, and schlocky film. Her work blends Japanese manga and vintage American comic and pulp aesthetics. She specializes in traditional ink and color illustrations, manga art, focusing on dark, fantastical, and dramatic. Gigi, where are you?
I'm at W16A. That's where I'm at.
And last and certainly not least, Tingu is a multidisciplinary artist with passions ranging from large format hand sculpting to slow cooking warm autumn stews. In 2020, Tingu debuted his comic Square Hole, a queer existential character study that went viral and has since garnered over 25,000 subscribers, over 500,000 active engagements, and has been featured by publishers like Webcomics and Tapas. His new steamy lesbian trauma-informed vampire comic, The Cannibals, has just been released by Field Mouse Press. And you can pick it up here at SPX in the Field Mouse Press table. And 1B2. And he's working on a new historical fiction epic, which he can't wait to share with you soon. So everyone, welcome. It seems our slideshow. So with that said, I would like to proceed to the diabolical questions. So question one, just to kind of get us on the same page. So many artists, and I'm sure most people here, experience a moment of artistic conversion that dramatically changes the way they work. And is there one particular conversion that made you decide to pursue horror in your work?
This is probably the experience of almost every 90s kid, but I was exposed to Yonan Vasquez at a very small age. Honestly, probably one of the best inkers ever, but the way that he draws gore with spot blacks completely changed the way I looked at it in a way that was so appealing that really to this day I'm still trying to imitate what he's doing.
Definitely my turning point was like going to dialectical behavioral therapy. Yeah, therapy can help. Self-improvement. So I think like having more, self-reflectiveness and then kind of finding ways to channel that in like a physical, tangible way. Like I picked comics because of my childhood. I feel like my worst nightmare is being subject to Junji Ito. I know, no, I'm trying not to look at you, but it's like people always are telling me my stuff is Junji Ito because I feel like I draw anime-looking characters and it's body horror, so I just get like thrown at this pigeonhole. But I love him. But
And how can you not?
Right.
So when I was a kid, I was really into Edward Gorey and, so already sort of, drawn to the darkness. And then I was raised Catholic, which, there you go.
Gee, really?
And then, I had like a lot of like really intense like familial deaths when I was a child.
Okay.
So it just really made me obsessed with death and thereby horror. And I guess if I'm trying to escape something, it would be the process of like undoing like unhealthy thought patterns, which is a, complicated and long process.
And Gigi?
Oh, okay. So I am a TV and movies kind of girl, to be honest. I didn't grow up reading a ton of comics, especially not like horror stuff. Mostly like Sunday funnies and stuff like that. So my main like inspiration to kind of get me started with horror was honestly watching Tales from the Crypt, the like old HBO show. Yeah. Starting with that, and I don't know, it kind of spiraled from there. And I think you can kind of see that in my work also. I didn't even get to like the EC comics like Tales from the Crypt, but even that, like the covers I'd seen, and like I'm sure you could see that in my work. But yeah, I feel like it's an amalgam of like different things. Like I really just like visuals and like aesthetics as opposed to like a specific artist for horror. But obviously Junji Ito with the rest of the group. But yeah, I think it's more of a vibe. I do like Graham Humphreys though. That is somebody who I'm really into trying to get away from. I think it's I don't know how obvious it is, but definitely Junji Ito. I get that every other comment when people look through my work. So yeah, I would say that. I think another big thing that I am a little afraid of is being derivative in like a very uninteresting way. I don't have a problem with like wearing my influences on my sleeve also, but I would prefer to do it in a way that's interesting and like new to people and like it creates something different while still being familiar to people. And if I'm not doing that and it's just derivative, then I think that's the worst in my opinion. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. The other question, I'll be more specific, but I'm very curious about this. So is there something about comics specifically that you find especially productive for horror? And Andy, I know that you develop games, but I'm curious as to what is it about the medium of comics that you think is like the perfect apparatus for this stuff?
Something I find interesting is in a horror game, there are hallways you don't want to walk down because you don't want to see what happens. In a horror comic, I try to make you scared to turn the page, and I think that's like, if you're making the reader afraid to progress time and like have their own relationship with like that media, I think that's why I like comics and games. Anything that requires a level of interaction, I think, is an excellent medium for it.
What is it about comics?
I've been a lover of books in general since I was a child, and being a visual artist, just combining the two things of, narrative storytelling with the visual art is kind of a no-brainer. And then I was a film video major for my undergrad. There's a huge parallel between, like storyboarding for a film, or just like conceptually just thinking about how you're going to set up the structures for a film and comics in one unit.
I kind of want to jump in on that as far as like the film stuff. Like for me, like as somebody who's coming into horror more from like a film and like TV media lens, I find that like with horror comics, it is like a little bit more accessible. I grew up in a time where like Blockbuster was a thing, and like I grew up super poor, so I was not able to like, I didn't have access to like horror movies the way I wanted to, but I always had like a library card, so I could always read whatever was around. So I think that's what makes it may not be like as like functionally like as a comic what makes it good for horror, but like I think that's like what's important about horror in comics, why it's a good medium for it.
You got me thinking as well. I feel like I grew up on comics because of that.
Yeah,
library
the
comics.
accessibility of it.
The
It's like,
accessibility,
yeah.
and I think of like the history of zines and comics in general as like
Yeah.
political art.
And horror is oftentimes like used as like, it may not always be in the most positive light, but like a way to like highlight the fears of like the community or like the country, or you know, underlining ideas that may or may not be true. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that, you know, I had a conversion moment early on at Boken. I remember Clip Chang, you know, Paper Girls, said that he wanted to be a filmmaker, but the process seemed so daunting that he just decided to make a comic book. And I think that sense of accessibility, I think the cinematic format of comics, I certainly think the beats of it very interesting. And of course, you just have this amazing range of style, you know, and you could be, I guess, for lack of a better term, it could be polyamorous in all of your stylistic, you know, decisions and affectations. And so, Gigi, so when I was reading your stuff, you know, Resenter in particular, it has just, it's like, feels very televisual. And so I guess I'm wondering how, you know, you see that relationship. I mean, you just told us that you're a TV and film buff. So how you work with the medium, and I think also there is, you know, in the anthology, there's this very, like, it definitely reminded me of like Tales from the Dark Side and some of these things that just kind of circle back to this really neat little reveal. And so I'm wondering how you negotiate that sense of influence. Do you see comics as like always in dialogue with these other media, and that's what you try to bring in?
Yeah, I think I do see it in dialogue with these other, with the, you know, with TV and film. Yeah, when I am doing my storyboarding, I am, like, in my mind, I have no trouble with that process of storyboarding. I know a lot of other comic artists have problems with the visuals of like how to storyboard things out. But like I watch so many movies. I watch so much TV and so many movies that I'm like, oh, I have an idea already of how this is gonna go based on how it was filmed in this movie, and I might change the camera a little bit just to like, so it's like that's what I'm doing when I'm working on my stuff. So I think there's certainly a connection there for sure for me and working on my stuff. Yeah.
Film on paper.
Film on paper, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to create a bit of a saga, I guess. A saga that's not necessarily a saga, but yeah, something that you could see moving, even though like it's on the page and it's actually not moving, but something that you could imagine like jumping off on its own and like moving in front of you, like a show or film.
Other questions, other diabolical questions. So body horror is, as we all know, very, very niche, right? Like, I will consume anything, supernatural horror, sign me up, slasher, not my jam, but body horror is like a very, very specific thing. And so I'm curious, like, what draws you to that? And why, again, why comics, but why that little micro genre? You want to see yucky stuff.
As far as I'm
Ripping
concerned,
flesh.
all having a body is body horror. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
Body horror is a real expression of emotional insides, but you're making your emotional outsides. I feel like that's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I like best when I'm like creating.
I come from a history of like survivors and from like genocides and stuff. So I feel like for me, it's also that social aspect is so important. Like I think I always feel the bodies behind me, you know, in front of me. Like I always like want to see that in a physical way because I feel like a lot of people don't talk about it or see it. You know what I mean?
And Gigi, how about you? So why do you want to see
I want to see all that because I go through that. I haven't shared this like super publicly, but I'm going to share it now. But I actually have an autoimmune disease. I have Crohn's disease, and I've had it since I was 15, 16, very early high school. When you have an autoimmune disease, specifically something in the gut, which is like the body's second brain, there are a ton of different like symptoms that come up with it and different things you have to deal with. And taking in humor, like, you know, I'm good with the bathroom jokes. So if you need a good potty joke, like, come through. But even in getting medication and being treated for Crohn's, like, there's all these different things that happen. And like, you know, so for me, body horror is a way to relate to my own body within having the Crohn's. Like, I'm going through all these different things. Like, I've had hair fall out, I've had an overproduction of yeast, I've had like problems with skin and like all these other different things. In addition to having like just normal human body stuff, my teeth fall out as a kid, I have a uterus, like I have all these things happening. So like, it's hard to deal with that stuff in a solitary space when like family and friends don't really know how to relate to you or like what to say. But in body horror, regardless of the medium that it's coming in, there's always somebody else that can relate to you. And a lot of times they're going through something way worse. So it's like, oh, okay, it's not that bad. I don't have like another face on my face or something.
It's not so bad.
It's not so bad. But even so, it's still nice to have something else to relate to that I don't have to share with anybody else. In the same way that my bodily experiences and all the things, the changes happening there are mine and I'm dealing with it alone, I can embrace this story or this movie, you know, or this comic where body horror is the subject by myself. And I can process all the things that are happening to me on my own. And if I decide to share that outward, then I share it outward, but otherwise. And as somebody who's going through all that and who's also like a cartoonist and like drawing these things, I can also do that for somebody else who is, you know, feeling the way that I do, regardless of if they are a trans person or if they have like an autoimmune disease or, you know, if they're going through anything else with their body, then they also don't have to like deal with it like alone.
If I can sort of maybe raise a common thread, is one of the things that brings us to this and makes it, in a sense, like, you know, visions of torture, visions of disembowelment, all kinds of, you know, grotesque, terrifying depictions, is that it connects us to our own embodiment. And in a way, it's very grounding because, of course, we're all dealing with our mortality. Maybe to draw the analogy between horror and humor, you know, like these are kind of extreme states of the body. And this is something that also comes up around discussions of humor, is that it always circles around, we can say, a kind of dark sun. That's death. You know, like we all necessarily deal with our mortality. But the other thing I guess I'm curious about is that wondering how you see it participate in the larger landscape. Is there an uptick in body horror that you're seeing now as sort of, you know, cultural producers and cultural consumers? And what do you think that's about, if there is one?
I think horror is having a moment right now,
Yeah.
which is amazing. And so horror has been a genre forever. People were telling stories over campfires like a long time ago. And I've always felt like it gets sort of put on a lower shelf. Mm-hmm. Like it's not the Eisner winning category, you know? But I would like to see the day where, you know, there's just as much respect and it's not like looked at as this like trash genre. Like, you know.
I kind of like the trash genre though. I just wish that was where the respect was, like regardless of like it's fine to come from trash. Like trash is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But like let that be respected too, though.
Precisely.
You know?
Yeah.
We can have Shakespeare and trash. It's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think the past 5 years we were all like in a Lovecraftian horror, to be honest. Like,
It's rough. It's pretty rough.
I think we're still we're trying to move out of it, but I feel like we're still kind of in it right now.
Yeah. I keep thinking of it like in a way, I mean, I don't know, this is just like a theory, let's say, but I feel like we also think of society as a kind of body. And so I feel like the genre sort of addresses that, like when you have radical transformation, you have these cultural manifestations, and so you will have like an uptick in horror. I was looking this up, like what are the films that identify, that are like specific to the Trump era, you know, if we're looking at these patterns. But that's sort of a pet theory that we somehow not only have a kind of vision of us as a body, as a mental, you know, framework, but at the same time, it's expanded in terms of just how we envision like the body politic, the United States as something that's perhaps either bounded or in states of dis-ease and so on. So maybe that sort of explains it. But is there one misconception about horror? Because, you know, it's like if you're a niche and if you are making stuff that's gross or freaking other people out, and you were like, no, you don't understand it. So what is that misconception that you'd like to really correct?
I think another misconception is that, I don't know, like there's kind of like to your point, but like that something is wrong with you as a consumer of these types of mediums. In my personal experience, like more lore, but I grew up Jehovah's Witness. And so I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of I wasn't allowed to like watch Harry Potter at my aunt's house. And I was like, it's Harry Potter. But we don't need to have a Harry Potter discussion, but but
if you want.
We really don't. We really don't.
Yeah.
Okay. But like it's fine. We can watch these things because it's not like they're not all meant to be horrific. Like some of it is meant to be incredibly cathartic. And like sometimes we do want the trash and like watch the final girl do her thing, but like sometimes it's just a moment. Like Hereditary, a moment. Like if you have had like family issue or family trauma in the past, it's like, ooh, this is a moment. Ignore the beheadings at the end, but this is a moment right here. So I think that people need to kind of like separate the idea that, yeah, because like there's something horrific happening, that like the creator is horrific or the people consuming these things are like horrific, terrible people. So exactly, yeah.
I'm gonna double click into that idea.
Double click
Yeah.
it.
Double click.
Yeah.
I think that also part of that is like what we consider horror and what horror as such a huge genre is.
Like it kills me that some people who are like, oh my god, you watch horror movies, like that's
What's
so
wrong
bad.
with you? Yeah.
But then these will be the same people that watch like Forensic Files and true crime, and it's like, are you serious?
Yeah, there we go. It's like that's horror. That's
Right.
yeah.
But also like my horror is fictional. Like you're talking about real situations, and that's terrifying to me. So like
monetizing off of it. Like,
yeah,
scary in a lot of ways.
right.
Like,
Exactly. At least my horror is ethical.
So with that said, I would love, take the mics, and if you have questions for our, yeah, please.
Oh yeah. So since you brought up Junji Ito as something that's like kind of annoying, like following me around real point and stuff, and say that's Junji Ito. It reminded me. So I was at NYC a month or so ago. They had Zach Davison there, the manga translator, and he translates Joe Kabe's work. He's a guy who does a lot of Lovecraft stuff, like stuff based on Lovecraft stories. And he was saying, Nabe gets mad, he starts holding him. Everyone comes up to me and points at me and says, your work's just like Junji Ito. And I said, no, it's not. Like, I do not care about Junji Ito. It's Shigeru Mizuki, that's me. I was wondering, like, as folks who are engaged in horror art, like, why do you think it is, as much as people do love Junji Ito, and what Junji Ito is, like, undeniably pretty great, like, what is it about his stuff do you think that, like, has people pointing at other horror art and saying, that's Junji Ito, whether or not it looks like Junji Ito?
Because that's probably the one horror artist that they know. Exposure, yeah.
he also like he kind of synthesizes this, like he's this gateway from Japanese manga also in the late 2010s or 2020s, like into alt comics too. Like I feel like he, when I was growing up with Junji Ito, he was like really my icon for, that kind of classical horror, because he grew up on Lovecraft and all these like classic horror, American Western kind of horror tropes too.
Yeah, I can't even be mad when somebody points it out in my stuff, because he is a huge like influence. So it's like, as much as it's not that I don't like it, it's just like, all right, you guys, I need a different compliment because that's getting old. So it's like, oh, okay.
All right, so let's switch sides.
I wanted to ask kind of how you would introduce somebody who hasn't really traditionally been interested in body horror, but who, like, I'm thinking of my mother in particular. I'm in my 30s, she's just becoming 60 years old, and we both share a lot of experiences in terms of, like, betrayals of the body, like medical issues, things like that. I want to form a deeper relationship with her in terms of dovetailing our interests together. So how would you kind of initiate somebody into that? Kind of maybe have watched Silence of the Lambs and been compelled by it, but that's about it.
I would also like gauge your mom's tolerance for that too. Like heavy, because like body horror, like it's really not for everybody. And like if you see like hints, then maybe go further. But if she's really not into it, it's not for everybody. But
I would relate it back to her personally, since she's getting older, like those changes, like, well, this is why it might be a good idea to look into this, because this thing is happening with this person's body, this thing's happening with your body. Just like tie it together, you know. Just like breadcrumb it to her. Like,
Thinking.
yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, and so let's go back to side A.
So my question is more about like the craft. When you're depicting like those war, do you prefer like digital and traditional, or do you like do a blend when you get to those particular things?
I love that we all work traditionally.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
I do.
figured.
Yeah.
We're horror people. We gotta feel
Yeah.
horror.
So we have time for a few questions. So we need to switch to the other flank. So how about over here?
My question was in gore and in body horror, there's a lot of overlap, but it's not the same thing. Can you talk a little bit about how you conceptualize body horror in relation to gore and also outside of gore?
That's a head scratch. Well, not a head scratcher. That's a thinker, though, I think.
I think body horror is something that happens to you or the perceiver, and gore is something that is forced upon. Not like forced upon others, but like with body horror, it's an internal reflection of stuff that's going on with the character. But with gore, I feel like it's more.
I feel like what you're trying to say is like body horror is what your body does to you, but gore is what someone does to you,
Yes.
as opposed to like what your body, what's happening internally with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that point.
That sounds very neat.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Good job, everybody.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you all for being here today. I'm super excited about this panel and it's not disappointing. My question is regarding the notion of ethical consumption in body horror. So how do we as artists derive sources for our work? I wonder what our own references are like and your thoughts on drawing from sources other than like anatomy textbooks or pre-existing art. How do you make distinctions about which references are excluded?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, okay.
I would like to know the answer to that too, because I found some reference. Okay, just like for Resenter, something that I did recently for some pages, but there is somebody who gets hit by a car and killed. And I was like, I don't know what that looks like. I've seen people get hit by cars but not killed, and like, you know, it wasn't gory. And I was specifically looking for gore, and I searched it up on Google, and I was like, I doubt this will come up. It's not 2002 anymore. I was wrong. And I found some stuff, and I was like, this is a lot, but I found my reference, and I did that. I did not pay for the reference, though. That's a bit much.
Like shilling people, like I think that's probably my view with it. If it's like a
I agree.
newspaper photo, that's totally, yeah.
I think these were articles.
Yeah.
Oh, and film stills.
Yes,
Film.
yes.
Film is the big
That's a
one.
good idea, actually.
All right. So I'm getting the signal. Everyone, thank you so much. Thank you all.
I'm back. Yeah.
Decided you have two
I have to sign stuff?
side quests.
Side quests.
One vendor was interested in doing trades with you.
Okay.
And another vendor was doing something about a horror anthology, something would love to talk to you.
Okay, C12. All right.
So their table numbers are on here. I also texted you on Discord if you want to look at
Okay.
the phone.
I got your phone text, but I didn't see the Discord text.
Oh, okay.
And I did my loop around, so yay, the booth. This is Sin. He's in my Discord. Yeah. So he wanted to come by and see the
I feel like I only know people's like Discord,
handles. Yeah.
like little profile pictures.
I get like that when people come up to talk and I'm like, oh, we follow each other on Instagram or something. And I'm like, what's your handle?
Yeah.
And like, I don't recognize your face because you don't show your face. So yeah, that's the only thing that's like, bro. Okay, I believe I will side quest. I will do that thing. The panel went well. I'm very happy about it. I hope you liked the video. thank you so much for watching. What did you think? I really enjoyed that panel. It's not often that I feel like I get to be on a panel with other comic creators who are also like horror people. So that's always refreshing. That was super nice. But yeah, please be sure to check everybody's stuff out. I'll have everybody's information in the description box below. And yeah, thanks for watching this video to the end. I appreciate it so much. If you liked the video, please give it a like. If you didn't like the video, you could dislike it, and that will let me know not to make this video again. But again, thank you so much for watching to the end, and thanks for being here. If you have not already subscribed to the channel, please do. I have plenty of horror manga stuff happening, specifically vlogs where I go into like my life as a horror manga artist, moving in between the indie space and the trad publishing space. And yeah, it's a blast. It's pretty fun. It's a little stressful, but we work hard over here and have a lot of fun. So yeah, if you think that's something you're into, please subscribe. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much. I love ya. Bye.